One 18-kilogram bag of plain wood pellets can replace bag after bag of cat litter, and the conversion takes less than 10 minutes. Today I'm going to show you how to make a cheap pellet litter system using ordinary compressed wood pellets, how to build the sifter without buying an expensive litter machine, and how to transition a cat without turning the bathroom into a protest zone. The trick is not simply dumping pellets into a box and hoping for the best. The pellets absorb urine, break down into sawdust, and then fall through a sifting tray, while the solid waste stays on top. That changes the entire routine. I keep coming back to this setup because the actual litter is inexpensive. The tracking is usually lower than fine clay, and one bag can go much further than a few small bags of branded litter. The important part is buying the right pellets and setting up the box correctly. Get either of those wrong, and your cat will write a 1-star review directly on the floor. Start with plain compressed wood pellets. Look for pellets made from untreated wood with no fragrance, no added chemicals, no accelerants, and no colored coating. These are commonly sold as heating or wood stove pellets. Do not use barbecue smoking pellets. Those are designed to add flavor to food, and they can contain woods or additives you do not want in a litter box. Do not use garden mulch, cedar shavings, sawdust from painted wood, or anything made from treated lumber. Read the bag. If the ingredients are unclear, leave it on the shelf. The goal is a boring bag of compressed wood. Boring is exactly what you want in a litter box. You also need 2 trays that fit together, or 1 ordinary litter tray plus a second tray that can be turned into a sifter. The top tray needs holes large enough for broken down sawdust to pass through, but small enough to keep the pellets and solid waste above it. Holes around 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch are a useful starting point. If you make the holes too small, the sawdust stays trapped. Too large and unbroken pellets fall through before they have done anything useful. A shallow plastic storage bin can work for the upper tray. Drill the holes evenly across the bottom, then sand or cover any sharp edges. The lower tray catches the sawdust. That is your entire separation system. Put the solid tray underneath and the perforated tray on top. Add roughly 1 to 2 inches of dry pellets. You do not need a deep mountain of litter. The pellets expand and break apart as they absorb moisture, so overfilling the box only gives you more material to clean. At first, the pellets may look completely wrong for a cat. They are large, hard pieces instead of soft sand. That is why the transition matters. Place the new pellet box beside the old box rather than replacing the old litter overnight. Start by mixing a small amount of pellets into the familiar litter. After a few days, increase the percentage if your cat is using the box normally. Some cats accept pellets immediately. Others inspect them as if they were reviewing a suspicious piece of modern art. Let the cat decide. If the cat refuses the box, do not keep removing the old option and hoping stubbornness will win. The cat has more time than you do. The first real test happens when the pellets get wet. Urine causes them to break down into soft sawdust. That sawdust drops into the lower tray through the holes, while the dry pellets remain on top. When you clean the box, remove the solid waste first, then gently shake or lift the upper tray so the sawdust falls through. Empty the lower tray and return the upper tray to its position. Do not aggressively shake it like a cocktail. You are separating material, not trying to launch sawdust across the room. The system works best when you remove solid waste every day and check the lower tray regularly. If the lower tray is full, empty it. If the whole box begins to smell, change the remaining pellets and wash the trays with mild soap and water. You may find that you need less material than expected because you are not throwing away a large scoop of clean litter every time. With clay litter, urine creates clumps surrounded by unused material. With the pellet system, the wet portion turns into sawdust and separates from the remaining pellets. The savings come from that separation. Before you spend money on a special pellet litter box, test the idea with 2 inexpensive trays. A cat may accept the pellets, reject the pellets, or prefer a mixture. That experiment tells you more than an expensive product description ever will. If you are still watching, you probably enjoy household systems that make ordinary expenses less ridiculous. Subscribing is free and helps support the channel, and members get access to members-only videos where I test more low-cost fixes. Now, the important question is odor, because a cheap litter system is useless if the entire room smells like a woodworking shop with a problem. The strongest odor control comes from keeping the lower tray dry and removing the sawdust before it sits there for too long. Do not seal the box inside an airtight container. Airflow matters. Use an open or well-ventilated setup, keep the box in a dry location, and avoid adding perfumes or essential oils. Strong scents may make the room smell better to you for 10 minutes, but cats have much more sensitive noses, and fragrance can make them avoid the box. You also do not need to add a pile of extra powders. Start with the plain system first. If the box is cleaned properly and the wet sawdust is removed regularly, the wood itself provides much of the odor control. The next issue is tracking. Fine clay can stick to paws and scatter across the floor. Pellets are larger, so they often stay in the box more effectively. You may still find a few pieces nearby, but a litter mat placed at the exit catches most of them. A wooden or plastic scoop is fine for removing solids, but the most useful tool is the sifting tray. That is the part that turns this from ordinary litter into a system. If you only use one tray, the pellets still absorb moisture, but you lose the easy separation. You end up digging through damp sawdust and unbroken pellets by hand, which is not a hobby anyone needs. For a multi-cat home, use enough boxes that one cat cannot block access to the only bathroom. Even the cheapest litter fails if another cat has decided to stand guard in front of it. Keep the box clean, keep the pellets dry before use, and do not reduce the number of boxes simply because this system costs less. The goal is to save money without creating a daily argument between the animals. There's also an emergency version of this idea. If you run out of commercial litter, plain untreated paper can work temporarily when shredded into strips. It will not control odor as well, and it becomes wet quickly, so treat it as a short-term backup rather than a permanent replacement. Wood pellets are better because they absorb moisture, break down predictably, and can be separated with the sifting tray. The paper method is useful when the shops are closed and the cat is making its position very clear. One warning deserves its own sentence. Never flush or use litter down the toilet. Even material marketed as flushable can create plumbing problems, and cat waste should not be placed in a vegetable garden compost pile. Bag the used material according to your local waste rules. If you are considering composting any wood material, keep cat waste separate and check your municipality's guidance first. You should also pay attention to the cat's behavior during the change. If your cat suddenly stops using the box, strains, cries, or shows a major change in bathroom habits, stop treating it as a litter experiment and contact a veterinarian. A sudden change can mean something more serious than a preference for clay or pellets. For ordinary maintenance, though, the process is simple. Put the dry pellets in the upper tray, let them absorb moisture and break down. Remove solids daily. Sift the sawdust into the lower tray. Empty that lower tray before it becomes saturated. Top up with fresh pellets when needed. The most useful part is that the box tells you when it needs attention. If the lower tray is filling quickly, empty it more often. If the cat is leaving pellets untouched and using the box comfortably, you may be able to reduce the depth. If the room smells, clean the box instead of covering the problem with perfume. And if your cat refuses the new texture, that is not a failure of physics. Cats are allowed to have preferences. Keep the old litter available and transition more slowly, or decide that the savings are not worth the negotiation in your particular home. For a cat that accepts the change, the difference is obvious. The litter is less expensive, the pellets usually track less than fine particles, and the sifting routine means you are not throwing away an entire box of clean material every time you remove a wet clump. The expensive part is no longer the litter, it is the plastic box sitting underneath it. That is why this idea has stronger potential than a generic homemade cat litter video. The viewer is not just learning a recipe, they are seeing a different mechanism, a cheap material that changes form when it gets wet, then separates itself from the clean material. That is the satisfying part. You're not making a weaker version of the product. You are changing the way the box is cleaned. I have kept this kind of pellet system in my rotation because it is simple, inexpensive, and easy to repair when something wears out. There is no special cartridge, motor, subscription, or tiny replacement filter that somehow costs more than the original machine. Start with one small test box. Use plain untreated pellets, keep the old litter beside it, and give your cat the final vote. If this saved you money, share the video and subscribe for more practical fixes. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.